AB on the track, yeah. AB on the track, yeah. AB on the track, yeah.
The fact that you are sitting there without something.
AB on the track, yeah. AB on the track, yeah. AB on the track, yeah.
What's up, everybody? We about to go live. Let's get it. I'm not gonna do that.
Each and every Wednesday night. Hey, little girl. Hey, bartender. Say what? The Compton be in the house. Everything is alright. I got Compton tonight.
Yeah, we got Clarksville in the house. Little go-go music. Y'all know how we do. We in DC, man. Drop a bomb for the best city in the United States. You know what I'm saying? My biased opinion. It's your boy, Jay DaCosta.
It's your girl, Katniss.
And together we are the Nitty Gritty. What's up, everybody? I know we haven't really been around much this month, but last weekend we had the Super Bowl. Weekend before that,
That was a great Super Bowl. Can we just talk about that?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
It was a really good game to me. I'm not a big football fan, but I love the fact that both teams were true competitors and it came down to the wire. To me, in my opinion, that Super Bowl can be compared to Cavs versus Golden State 2016.
Yeah, it was big. It came down to the literally the final plays, like what was gonna happen. It's a shame he got his Negro wake up call as far as Patrick Mahomes is concerned. You know, they were testing him. I don't know whatever came of that. I didn't really follow their story much. There's other things going on, but I know they were testing him for performance enhancement drugs. He had actually tested hot the day of, and they were going to do some more testing and investigation.
What does testing hot mean?
Meaning that they found something in his system that they felt like was not appropriate for performance enhancement. Because you remember he had the ankle injury. I thought he just pushed through personally. Mm-hmm. But now they're contesting whether or not it's going to be a legit Super Bowl for the Chiefs.
Yikes.
Because if he took performance enhancing drugs, then that might be why he did so well. Let's drop a bomb from Mamie. Clarksville in the house. Clarksville in the house. All right, Stage Me Mamie up here in the building. So I thought it was a good Super Bowl though. It was entertaining. Let's talk about the Rihanna performance. I thought it was good considering that she was pregnant, but there was a lot of people, not just men. I know some people just try to create the narrative that only men were judgmental. Most of the men I know were like, she's pregnant. What else do you expect? But I seen people in general, male and female, really criticizing her. And I don't get it. What more do you want from someone who's pregnant?
Well, given that she's pregnant, obviously that's going to change her ability to perform at the level that maybe you're expecting. So I think we need to level set that. But I felt whoever her set design creative person was, did phenomenal. I love the moving.
I thought it was dope.
The moving platforms to me were dope. And I want that red coat. That red coat
it's for sale. It's
was
for sale.
fire. I looked on Fendi. I didn't see it.
I don't think it's out yet, but it's going to be part of her Fendi line.
That red coat,
Fenty line.
Absolutely fire. I thought her dancers were absolutely phenomenal. I thought her set list, like she picked some of her top hits.
I mean, she got.
It was like every song we were singing along to.
I'm
song.
gonna skip ahead to something we're gonna bring up in the show, but I think it brings up an important topic that we were gonna talk about later. About it's okay to have your preference. I mean, at the end of the day, I understand that some folks say, "Oh, it wasn't a Beyonce performance," and that's fine because you can prefer Beyonce over Rihanna. This idea that we're pitting two black women against each other, no, it's just that some people have their preference. Stephen A. Smith had came out and said, "Hey, look, she's no Beyonce to me," and there's nothing wrong with that statement. I don't feel like that's putting down a black woman for another black woman. It's saying I like this artist's work more than the other artists, and I think we have to get outside the idea that just because I prefer Jay-Z doesn't mean I think Nas is trash. It's just that I prefer Jay-Z. You get what I'm saying? Or I prefer Common. You know?
I still think her performance was iconic because has there ever been a pregnant woman performing at the Super Bowl before?
I don't think at a Super Bowl.
So
I know
first.
Beyonce technically performed pregnant, but not at the Super Bowl. You know, but I mean, it was, and Rihanna got hits.
I mean, the whole set
I think her playlist may have more longevity than other artists. If I was to throw out one,
they have the set list on Apple Music, but to me, the composition, the musicianship, like if you are an artist, if you're somebody that plays an instrument, if you go back and watch it, I watched it like 3 times.
Shout out to Full Circle, you know they watch it, so of course, yeah.
I watched it like 3 times. If you go back and listen to her band, they were fire. Like their transitions, the way that they like, it was just so dope to me. Like I don't look at a performance though. I have a different kind of eye and ear when I look at an artist. I don't look at it as you need to sing great, you need to dance well. I look at the whole thing, like the moving platforms, how does it look visually? I mean, was she dancing? No. But visual effects, check. Dancers, check. Band, check. She looked amazing. Pregnant, she's a gorgeous girl.
I mean, everybody here at the house was singing along. So, I mean, obviously
the
hits were there. So, you know, shout out to Rihanna. I'm going to get back to Rihanna later in the conversation. I don't want to take away from that one yet, but we'll get to it. More current news. We have, looks like Adidas is looking to create a better structured deal for Kanye.
So they want to go back into business.
They want to go back to Kanye
Kanye.
and Yeezy brand.
You know what? As cool as he is, maybe my man had a plan that worked out.
I think it worked out. I'm not going to give him genius level on business acumen.
Right.
I will give him genius level on creativity, though. The man can create a spectacle and can create. I don't care if it's music, clothes, fashion, architecture.
A buzz on Instagram.
Or his initial creative outlook, painting. When it comes to creating, I'll give him genius level. Business acumen, I think he just got off on this one because what happened is Adidas lost around $1.3 billion after they severed ties with Kanye. So now they're kind of like, we need the revenue of Kanye. And they believe his no longer being tied to Adidas is actually hurting the sales of Pharrell with the Human Race line, hurting the Y3 sales. These are all subsets of the overall Adidas and also hurting Ivy Park sales. So they feel like people being kind of disjointed because of that is actually hurting the whole brand. So now they're almost feeling forced to bring them back.
Well, I'm gonna tell you one
So
thing.
interesting.
Before we move on, I'm gonna tell you one thing. If you do not own a pair of Yeezys,
They're comfortable shoes,
listen,
yo.
Listen, this is gonna be clippable, okay? I'm not telling you have to go and buy a pair of Yeezys, but I'm telling you, Yeezys might be the most comfortable tennis shoe I have ever had, and it's fashionable. But
I stand
comfort
by
level,
comfort, Jesus, they're
way
comfortable.
more comfortable than Nikes. I'm sorry, Nike, I love you, but way more comfortable. I had to get that out.
I don't think I've ever had a comfortable pair of Nikes. Me personally. Yeah. So yeah, but yeah, so that's going on there. So we'll see. There's gonna be people saying he's an overall genius in the world, but listen, hey, shout out to the black
I
man.
can see. Wait, before you move on, I can see Kanye making a whole clip. Yeah, you see, they needed me. They needed me.
Well, the thing is, he's already predicted his own. So I will give Kanye
I can
this.
see it.
There is something to speaking life over your current situation. He had said in the middle of him going down, it don't matter. Y'all gonna love me in another year or two.
He did say that.
He said that. He spoke that over himself. As crazy that may sound. So speaking life over you and then doing the work, because he's done the work as far as creating in these various lanes.
But
So,
he's also confident.
very confident.
I mean,
Sometimes misplaced confidence. But he is confident.
But
And
I love it.
It's Black History Month, folks. Black folks, we need to be a little bit more confident about who we are and what we are in this world, right? So, shout out to him for that. Also, looking at some more Black excellence in the month of February. Shout out to Beyonce going on tour. Tickets are crazy. Not so much that the tickets in price are crazy. Some of them are. I mean, $3,000 seats exist.
I think, looking back on it, I kind of wish we would have bought for Sunday. We would have probably ended up.
I mean, that wasn't terrible though, because we bought within our demographic of what we can afford.
But I feel like everybody wanted to go to Saturday. If I was thinking logically, because I feel like as an artist, if I'm coming to do 2 shows, from what I've heard and what I've experienced before, typically the artist gives a little bit more in that first show than the second show.
Well, I mean, considering that you're an artist yourself and, artistic person, that's probably better that you spend a few extra dollars to see her on Saturday. So you could get that.
It wasn't the price, it was the concept of like having to buy it before somebody snatched it
So
up.
let's talk about that. So the Beyonce tickets, when I say they're crazy, it's not so much the price as much as the process. For those that don't know, and Katrina, enlighten the folks.
I had to register first.
Everything you have to do.
I had to register first. Then I got emailed a unique code. Then with that code, I had to make sure it was handy. I had to make sure my card was up to date. I had to make sure that the card that I was using had the appropriate funds. We learned after the fact. In that account. Then you get told when you can go log on. So then you log on. You're thinking, okay, I'm logging on a little early. But then you see I'm logged on. I logged on early. I logged on. Tickets went on sale for me at like 2 o'clock on a certain day. I logged on at like 1:45, and I had 2,000 people ahead of me in the queue. So I had to wait for those 2,000 people to buy their tickets first. Then I got in.
Or get denied their tickets.
Yeah. Then I got in, and then you have to pick your seat. And then when you try to process, you have to hope that nobody picked it before you. Do you want to explain any details too?
So what happens is you might pick 2 seats, but then as it's processing, they might say, "Oh, another fan already beat you to them." Then you gotta wait, and if the money's not there, it kicks you back, and you got to go back into the queue. Sometimes refreshing the screen would kick you back in the queue. And there's friends of ours who have to fly to different cities. I've heard of some people saying, "I'm still waiting on the list."
Oh, and you couldn't buy the tickets with any credit card either. You got to use.
She has partnerships.
Yes.
She has partnerships with certain banks, and unless you have an account within a certain bank, that may block when you can buy your tickets.
There you go.
Now, it's smart business acumen because, one, she's processing so many sales through certain banks. It's encouraged. There are people out there that we know of. These friends, they're pretty smart, though. They didn't go do it. Shout out to them because they're building a home. I won't say their names, but they was like wanting to open up brand new bank accounts. Because it's like, man, if I could just have a bank account at this place, I could go ahead and buy my ticket today. But for all those that know, when you're building a home, you can't open up new lines of credit, stuff like that. It can actually hurt you in the finalization phase. So they were smart in not doing that. But we know of people that have to fly to different cities, folks who are still waiting to get their tickets. So, Beyonce, by her creating this sense of
supply and demand,
I mean, her ticket sale. I mean, she's selling out football stadiums. When she comes to DC, she's gonna be at FedEx Field. So I mean, thousands of seats, and then they have seats that are going for $3,000. They have stuff in the nosebleeds for as low as $200.
But nosebleeds for $200 still ain't.
That's. Hey, she's making money. Even on the low end, she can make about. She should clear about $2 million per performance.
But
and it'll probably be more than that.
Question for you: aside from the performance, if she's partnering with the bank, wouldn't the bank also get a percentage for every sale? And then what percentage does she get for the sale?
And now, see, and those are the inner workings of the deal that I'm pretty sure people like Live Nation, Jay-Z, her husband, Beyonce and her team have probably worked through. But they ain't performing for free. I can tell you that. And so I think it's going to be some cool concerts. I'm going to be Katrina's plus one.
Juan is going.
She's going to make sure I
forced
go.
Juan to go to this concert because my philosophy was, I know he's not a big Beyonce fan like I am, but my philosophy was she's the greatest entertainer of our generation. I will never want my husband to be in a situation where we have kids or grandkids and nieces and nephews and they say, dang, have you ever seen Beyonce? And you say no. Like when I asked my parents if they seen Michael Jackson, they said they saw him one time and they feel like it was worth it to say, I saw Michael Jackson live. And so I wanted him to have that experience. Now if he decides after the concert, hey, I don't really like it, fine, whatever.
I'm pretty sure it'll be a good show.
But I wanted him to at least say, I saw her one time.
She wanted to make sure I was there, so I'll be her plus one.
I forced him to come.
Yeah, I really didn't have a choice. I tried to get out of it. I was like, hey, take one of your girlfriends. She was
I
like,
said
no,
no.
you're coming. So I will be there. I'm pretty sure it'll be cool. You know what I'm saying? Beyonce got some cool tunes. I'll rock with it. I personally like the more intimate settings with, and I know she'll have like a live band, but if I have my choice, I'd rather go see, Jill Scott at the MGM or, Anderson .Paak.
So what about Beyonce live in Vegas? That's intimate.
Yeah, I mean, this is not. She's not really my cup of tea with music.
You said intimate setting. That's an intimate setting.
But I was also naming certain types of artists, Anderson .Paak, because like they play an instrument. Like Anderson .Paak plays the drums live and sings. PJ Morton plays the piano and sings.
What instrument does Jill Scott play?
She doesn't, but her band is so dope. And I'm pretty sure Beyonce put together a nice band.
That's two contradictions you just made.
I'm gonna be a contradictory brother today, but yeah, I'm just saying. This is me. Beyonce is not gonna do an intimate setting. She's going to be a concert artist, though. Like no different than Aerosmith, U2, Jay-Z.
Would you go see her live?
Her? Definitely, I would see her live.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't seen her yet. I wasn't at Afropunk with you. But I've seen like the internet live. I like Duckworth. I've seen Anderson .Paak.
Duckworth is amazing live.
Man, yeah, like that's just me more.
You like more. You don't really like mainstream artists. You kind of like more of like the more like what do you call them? Not the internet. The more. Is it called alternative?
Alternative artists / people
independent.
Yeah, because to me the creativity level is different for those guys than the A-listers. They have to make sure they have mass appeal. Yeah. So sometimes they create a lot of music to me that's like bubblegum, But that's just me personally.
Is that the same concept as gospel?
I would say in a sense like the best gospel performances I typically have seen has been like on this a random Sunday in the choir or the praise team just go in that day, right?
That's
versus a curated. Don't get me wrong. Fred Hammond, I just seen everybody live from my era of gospel. Fred Hammond, Dawkins and Dawkins, obviously Kirk Franklin, Mary Mary, John P. Key, Marvin Sapp. I just seen a bunch of these guys live, and they didn't gone in. BB and CC. Kirk puts on a performance. I ain't gonna front. Fred definitely gets down. Him and his band, he got one of the coldest bass players in the game. But when I think about some of the best gospel moments I've witnessed, it's just been on a regular Sunday when you just the choir was just going off that day, and it was like, oh, spirit was moving.
And the crazy thing about church on Sunday is that it's so funny. You will hear people argue on the internet about, oh, so-and-so's the best vocalist, any given Sunday.
Someone might tear that thing down.
Any given Sunday.
Just a random sister somewhere anywhere USA might tear that thing down.
I'm with Juan. Some of your best vocalists, okay? People you ain't never even heard of, but any given Sunday.
Some of your best bass players, piano players, organists.
It's an experience.
Get down on any given Sunday. If you're not going to and I'm about to say this specifically, If you're not going to a black church somewhere or with a black band, you is missing out on some of the best musical performances. And trust me, you don't go for a musical performance. You go for the spirit to move you.
But the experience is something to be.
But that musical experience, hey, trust us when we say.
I'm surprised. To your point, I'm surprised more music executives haven't done that.
Just go to the church looking for talent.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't know why.
I mean, that's a genius move.
You'll find the coldest. You'll find the coldest you ever seen. I'm trying to tell you.
Musicians, producers,
some of the best
singers,
even in the hip hop world. Some of the best hip hop performances you find are in some campus somewhere. They're having an open mic, and some dude is getting up there just spitting his stuff out the top of the dome, and you're getting some of the best bars you ever heard.
Even when they fuse, think about Jesus Walks. That was a huge hit because it was a choir.
I'm just saying, like, some of the best performances, they just be in the little hole in the walls, and you don't even be knowing.
I don't know what music execs. I don't know what you're doing, but
y'all looking in the wrong places.
The wrong places. American Idol ain't it. Go
TikTok ain't it. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes it's just
you need to go to an old Baptist, Kojic,
Apostolic
Pentecostal church.
Because most of these big singers we appreciate today, from Whitney Houston, you name it, Tank. A lot of the R&B artists that come on R&B money,
Jennifer Hudson,
they'll tell you they came at the church. Robert Glasper, his mother was a traveling singer, but then he started playing in the church.
I did not know.
And then he went to NYU, got more into the hip hop scene in New York, got more into jazz as a result of that. And now, I mean, he's a Grammy multi-award.
Shout out to Robert Glasper.
Yeah, Robert Glasper, dope. I'm just saying. A lot of talent coming at the church. Some of y'all just need to go get y'all some Jesus.
I got one more point on this. I was going to say, one of the things that I think makes it dope, and Juan was saying, it's not about you going to get... It's not like you're going to see a concert or you get entertainment. But I think the reason why those artists tap into a different level compared to mainstream is because they're singing about Jesus. And Jesus is important to them. So they're literally reaching a different level of emotion that you wouldn't normally get from any other performance. Yeah, and I think that's important.
Herman made a good point. He said music industry is not typically going to go into the black church, but boy, are they missing out. So
they missing out.
So let's get down to the nitty gritty, if you will, although we kind of already been there. But so some other topics we want to touch, because I mean there's so much going on. We don't have a set topic tonight. It's like, you know what? Let's just touch on a few things, talk about it. I don't know how long today's show will go. This
one is going to be about a couple rounds. So Chris Brown got about 5 things going on right now.
I know, right?
Between Robert Glasper, dark-skinned girls, and Keely, you got about 3 or 4, 5
So we're going to get to Chris Brown. Before we get to him, though, a little political update. Keep in mind, next year's a voting year, guys. People are throwing their hat in the race as of right now. Top Republicans to look for: Donald Trump, Nikki Haley, already confirmed. You got people like John Bolton, who came from the Reagan/Bush administration. I think he was like a U.S. ambassador. And Nikki Haley was also the U.S. ambassador to the UN for Donald Trump, and then she resigned because she didn't agree with Donald Trump. She's been a flip flopper, Nikki Haley. She's opposed Donald. Then at times she's agreed with him. I think she's an opportunist at best. But that's just my personal opinion. You guys need to do your own research and vote for who you think best aligns to what you want to happen legally, legislatively, things of that nature. So then you got Liz Cheney, also threw her hat in the race. Now, she's been pretty consistent in her opposition to Trump, kind of sticking to the party lines. Haven't seen anything from Tim Scott. He's not on anybody's main list. But it'd be interesting to see if he runs. You have Ted Cruz, who will more likely run. He's run the past few elections. He'll probably throw his hat in the race again. Ron DeSantis, governor out of Florida, will more than likely run, is what everybody's thinking. If he does run, he'll probably be the youngest person on the Republican side running. Then you have, outside of, Liz Cheney, then you have Larry Hogan, who I can get behind that one. Larry Hogan was the previous governor here in Maryland. And then there's rumors that Mike Pence may run, but not tying himself this time, obviously, to Donald Trump. Folks, look out for on the Democratic side. Joe Biden and his 80-year-old behind is still talking about running again. He initially promised that he wouldn't run for 2 terms, but now he's kind of gone back on that. But he wants to run with Kamala Harris on his side. Kamala Harris, as we all know, has aspirations of running directly for president, not being a vice president. We know Stacey Abrams might run. I think that'd be a waste of her time because she can't win. She just can't win elections. I'm sorry,
So
y'all.
she want to run for president, but has to run for governor?
She's run for governor-in-laws. She's run for various...
So she's thinking, well, maybe if I can... Well, maybe her thought is, I didn't win in Georgia, but maybe I have enough support outside of the state of Georgia that I might have a chance.
Thing is, Georgia's a really nice litmus test because Georgia is a majority county Republican with only a few key counties being Democratic. Kind of like how America works. Most of our people live in key Democratic cities and states, right? Most of the United States is largely Republican. That's why we always have more Republican governors at any given time. But with that, you have to be able to appeal to both sides of the aisle. I think her issue will be a lot like Bernie Sanders in the sense that she's going to come off way too liberal to win. At the end of the day, with any election, Democrats go super left, Republicans go super right. Then after they figure out who's going to make the general, they try to get back to the middle, right? And I just think that she's going to still fall way too far left for most of middle America to get with her. And when we say middle America, we're talking white middle class. We're talking military, which is still largely white, but a lot of black. And then you're still talking about the church crowd, which is still mixed. Like they assume that all black folks vote for certain people, but a lot of black people, especially in the Bible Belt, vote off of Christianity, old school values, things of that nature. So same thing in the Spanish community. People just assume all Spanish people are going to vote Democrat. But if you look at places like the Cuban population in Miami, if you look at the Puerto Rican population in New York, a lot of them are actually very conservative. So just saying, things to think
They have
about.
a strong Catholic background too.
Exactly. So when you start talking about values and all that stuff, certain themes on the liberal side are just not going to connect with that audience. And then last but not least, to look at on the Democratic side, Pete Buttigieg. And I think there's a lot of push from there because the LGBT community would love to see that. He would be our first openly LGBTQ president and all of that. So there's a lot of people pushing for it. I'm not pushing for it. I don't care what he represents.
I think the thing is...
Let me say this so that way I don't get misquoted when people hear this.
Okay.
I'm not representing Pete Buttigieg. I don't care who he's connected to. At the end of the day, he did a piss poor job in Indianapolis. Not Indianapolis, but in Indiana as a mayor, right? He hasn't been stellar on Biden's cabinet. So I couldn't get behind him. But I rest my case. Go ahead. I don't want nobody misquoting me afterwards. They'd be quick to come for me. Why do you go for Miss Pete Buttigieg? Pete Buttigieg is trash as far as his background. But all right, if that's what you like. You was about to say something?
I forgot.
You forgot? My
My
bad.
point.
My bad. I'm sorry. I just wanted to say that out there because you know how it is when you say something with certain communities, people get upset and in a way. And it's like, it has nothing to do with your community. It has everything to do with your track record. And I don't see how you're going to benefit me in my views when I'm voting. So whatever. So let's talk Chris Brown. So, and this may not matter to some of you. Some of you might be watching this after the fact, but I'm curious. Why are we still mad at Chris Brown? Now I get it. Personal opinion, he says he does a lot of ignorant stuff still. So even though the Rihanna thing to me is old,
Very.
right? He was 17, not even a full
That was
adult.
over 20 years ago.
Yes, it was a dumb decision, sure. Should he be still held accountable for Rihanna? And obviously him and Rihanna.
Well, it wasn't 20 years ago, sorry. It was more like 15, 16, but still.
Long time.
Significant time.
Everything has been settled with that legally. Rihanna's over it. She's then moved on, became a whole billionaire. Whatever, right? Let's get over it. He's a talented R&B artist.
Very talented.
Actually, he's just a talented artistic guy. Like if you look at some of his paintings, some of the other things he delves in, when you look at what he's doing with NFTs and technology, he's just a talented dude, right? But they're still mad at him. And I think, I would like to get your thoughts. I think part of the reason why people still are mad at Chris Brown, we've seen how he's antagonized women that he's been in past relationships with. So while he may not have beat them, we've seen them go online and talk crazy and all that kind of stuff, right?
The women?
Yeah, like his baby mother, the first one. What's her name? Royalty's mama.
Oh, I have no idea.
I forgot who she is, but Karrueche?
Karrueche don't have kids with him.
She don't have, but he did like go after her hard and on social media. But whoever the first baby mama is, he's been very open about saying stuff about her. Then we've seen in other situations where he's just immature, like the Robert Glasper situation. Who the blank is Robert Glasper?
Very immature.
Which is dope because Robert Glasper then turned that around made a T-shirt out of it, made sure he owned the rights to the T-shirt, and he's used the proceeds from the T-shirts to be given back to school systems so they can have better music programs.
Nice.
So, shout out to Robert Glasper for turning a good situation, or I guess what could have been a contentious situation, into a good situation, right? But I think that's why people are still mad at Chris Brown. He has been immature over the years. He finds a way to get in the media on some dumb stuff. And I think that's why people get so caught up in the person versus the artist. That's my thought process.
Yeah, and I think I don't want to say he can't control his emotions, but I think he gets frustrated because, for example, he was supposed to perform at, what big award show? It wasn't the Grammy.
Recently, they wanted him to perform at, I think, the AMAs or something like that.
Yes, and then they snatched his performance up. Mm-hmm. No reason why. He was rehearsing, picked the dancers.
The word for word it came out is he was supposed to do a Michael Jackson tribute.
So dope.
And some people said a woman beater doing a tribute to a alleged child molester didn't seem like a good look. That's what they said. I don't make the news,
so
y'all.
I think if I don't know Chris Brown personally, but I think for him, if I had to put myself in his shoes, he probably feels like, man, I'm putting out consistent music. This is not a person that just like...
He does put out consistent music.
Puts out music every year, whether it's an album or a feature or whatever. Consistent music. He's dope. He's talented. Everybody knows that. People sometimes call him the king of R&B just because of his portfolio is just vast. And I think for people not to recognize him in that way and consistently bring up the old things, it's almost like...
Yeah, think about it. And I could be wrong, and somebody check me if I am wrong, but if memory serves me correct, because he performs all the time, he goes on tour.
Yeah.
But he hasn't had a televised performance since the Rihanna incident.
You mean like on the big award show?
Yeah, that's why I said a televised performance. No award shows, nothing. I don't think he's had a single televised performance since the Rihanna
and
incident.
Still selling out tickets. like it's nothing.
So,
also, you had women in London saying that he's a colorist because they were claiming that he wasn't letting black girls... Their exact writing when they wrote on Twitter was he wasn't allowing black girls into his section. Chris Brown then debunked that by showing a story by saying, look, clearly there's black girls around me. Now people say, well, he's a colorist because none of his mamas are dark skinned. He doesn't really go for them. My thing is this, as a chocolate woman, why do y'all continue to get upset with men who don't want you? Like, I don't get it. Want people who want you.
Yeah, I mean,
it doesn't make any sense to me. People get mad about, this goes for men too. Men who be like, yo, these women, da-da-da-da-da. Go with people who want you.
Because it's
crazy to me.
Well, for some of y'all, maybe nobody wants you currently. You know what I'm saying?
I get it, but I don't understand why people get fixated on a certain type, and when that type don't want you, you be getting all in your feelings.
I just say, go where you're celebrated, not tolerated.
That's what I'm saying.
That's all. There's somebody out there for everybody. Some of you are not getting chosen, not because of the color of your skin. Some of you not being chosen, so maybe you need to, work on your health a little better.
And then you got Keely.
Maybe a little thick, or maybe you got a stank attitude. But,
Then the third problem with Chris Brown, so it was Robert Glasper one. This alleged, well, I shouldn't even say alleged. I do think that he has a preference, and it's not chocolate women. It is what it is. I don't care. He's still a talented artist. I don't care that he doesn't like people who have my complexion. Who cares?
So what's the thing with Keely again?
The Keely
we can
thing,
move on to the next one. Cause
why you being this way?
It's Chris Brown.
Y'all see how he act? I want y'all to see on camera.
We got a lot of different subjects.
I know, but I want y'all to see that wasn't necessary. That behavior wasn't necessary.
Keely, what's up? Come on.
You see that? And what's the topic that he want to drag it on? Like that politics nobody care about. That's okay.
The stuff y'all need to care about.
But they don't care about it. But with the Keely situation is Chloe Bailey is doing a song with Chris Brown. Uh-huh. Keely posted underneath her, I can't believe you're doing a song with a woman beater. So then her and Chris Brown had words. And basically Chris was like, basically the non-irrelevant one from 3LW is coming for me. So that's the whole thing too. Basically, what I say in conclusion is...
Isn't she the non-irrelevant one, though?
Keely is non-irrelevant.
Because the other two are still relevant in...
Adrienne is married to Israel Houghton.
And she's still on The View, right? She's on the show, right?
The Real, but it's no longer. But she was relevant in the last years. And then Victoria Naughton obviously is acting and...
Yeah, I mean, she is the most... she is the most... It might sound mean, but she's not relevant right now.
Well, the situation is making her more relevant. I mean... She ain't been on I don't know how long. Anyway... Long story short, just leave him alone, y'all. Let that man live his life. Let him make his decisions. I feel like separate if you can. Just celebrate him for the artist that he is. Hopefully he'll grow. I don't have a problem with him. Just leave that man alone. Let that man have peace. Y'all not giving him peace. That's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, some of he brings on himself because he needs to stay off of social media. But, you know, same time, as an artist, I just don't understand why we're kind of blackballing him from, you know, being an artist on any major stage. I think that's kind of ridiculous, but whatever. Got to talk about this too, right? A lot of men and women arguing right now on men earning the lead, right? And this is because, going back to Rihanna obviously has, you know, a child with A$AP Rocky. He's a rapper, actor. And there was a photo shoot they did recently. Do you know what publication that was? Do you remember? Was it Vogue?
I don't remember.
All right, but anyways, in there, it shows A$AP Rocky in the background, and then it shows Rihanna kind of taking the lead. Now, that photo shoot kind of makes sense to me because Rihanna just did a Super Bowl performance. Her Fenty Beauty line is a big deal. She just became a billionaire last year, so that's kind of like just when you're thinking about what she has going on currently, A$AP Rocky hasn't really been relevant outside of his name being tied to Rihanna. Just being honest about the stats of what it is. And there's a lot of men out there then becoming emotional about the situation, which they shouldn't be. I don't know why become so emotionally invested in celebrities, right? So then this theme they become emotional about, and they're like, this is the problem now. Black women in the lead. Black women need to stop trying to lead. Black men in the lead. And I'm going to say this, right? Black men in general, whatever, right? If the shoe fits, y'all should wear it. If you want to lead, men need to be two things. I don't believe in all that alpha male, beta male BS, all right? But what I do believe in are consistent men and developed men, right? Men, you need to develop yourself. I don't care if that's going to college, joining the military, learning a trade, reading books regularly, however you develop yourself in a way that allows you to make money and be someone leader worthy, you need to develop yourself. Seminary, whatever it is, men need to first develop themselves, right? Second, then men need to be consistent about said development. So therefore, you need to go to the gym regularly. You're a military man, whatever like that. You need to keep your body in shape. You need to read regularly. If you say that your principles lead you to a certain place, you need to be consistent in your principles. If you set boundaries, if you claim you aspire to be XYZ, be consistent in how you go after your dreams or your aspirations. As a result, if you're developed and you're consistent, women will follow. Period. Right? Too many times, and this is biblically backed. If you look at Adam in the Bible, he had consistency and he had development, right? He had a relationship with God. He obviously had a job tending after the animals. He had vision and direction. As a result, you never see in the Bible where God speaks directly to the woman. Adam obviously is able to convey all the rules to the woman because even when the woman is tempted by the serpent, she knows all the rules of the garden. Somebody taught her, and nowhere in the Bible does it show that God taught her. So obviously the man was in a place to teach and instruct. Men, if you're not in a place to teach and instruct somebody, you have a problem. A singular problem. You need to develop yourself. I see too many men crying on social media about, hey, no, these women don't want to follow us. These women, this. One thing we do know is that in the black community, women outnumber men in college, like 10-1, 9-1 most of the time. So that's a form of development, fellas. Right? Now, not that college is the end all be all, because at the same time, there's a lot of men out there, plumbing, electricians, all of that, HVAC. So they have work. But whatever that is for you, develop yourself, stay consistent. If you're not a developed man, if you're not a consistent man, don't get mad when women don't want to follow you, because what the heck are they following? And they get personal about this A$AP Rocky Rihanna photo, when at the end of the day, what is A$AP Rocky doing to cause Rihanna to follow him? She got more money. She's a more successful musician. What, just because he has balls and penis between his legs, she's supposed to follow him? That's not reason enough. Men, yes, I feel like there's a place in the family hierarchy that I obviously agree with, but it has to be earned. Too many people don't want to earn their place. I know you got thoughts.
No, because you said we need to move on. We have a lot of topics, right?
Oh, okay.
So let's keep it moving.
So we're gonna be petty. All right.
We're gonna be petty.
Yeah. So so next one, Matt McClung. I'll let you do this one. He won the dunk contest.
Yeah, I don't have much to say besides apparently they said he was a G League. He's been around for a long time. He's been very athletic, and I guess people were saying that it just shows that the NBA players don't really have hop skills anymore, because why would they allow a G League person to come in and be just completely just outperform everybody else?
But I think possible too with the Mac McClung thing, and I honestly I didn't know nothing about this story until Katrina brought it to me, y'all. Like I wasn't even following. But I think the big thing is I know he's G League. I know he actually went to Georgetown for a little while. Mm-hmm. Then he went to one of the schools in Texas. I forgot which one.
He's played in the NBA.
He's played in the NBA. I mean, not for long though.
No,
was it 10 days? You said
he's been with the Lakers. I forgot what it was, but each contract is only like 10 days. I don't know why they keep doing that to him.
It's almost like being part of the practice squad, basically, right?
I think pretty much. But
equivalent.
But they say he got $100K for winning the dunk contest, and now because of the buzz and everybody like, dang, who is this white guy? They believe this should put him over the edge to be in the NBA.
Okay,
for real.
I mean,
he seems sweet.
I mean, the thing is, when I looked it up, I think he's 6'2". And here's the thing about the dunk contest, right? This is me personally, all right? And I'm no basketball player, y'all, so I may not have the same opinions as some. But historically, it has been more impressive when a shorter player is dunking the ball, because the amount of airtime you're getting as a shorter player. Mm-hmm. I mean, is it really that impressive when a 6'8", 6'9", 6'11", 7-foot dude is dunking the ball? I mean, because it's like, is that really that impressive looking? Versus just from the visual, like Jordan is not by any means short, but he's 6'6". And when you see somebody his frame gliding from the 3-point line and dunking, visually that looks really impressive, because it's a vertical feat that you can obviously see. So when you see a 6'2" white dude, hello, there's a whole movie called White Men Can't Jump.
And the thing is, if you see what he looked like, he don't look like no Travis Kelce.
No, exactly, right? So if y'all look up Mac McClung, you'll see what we're talking about. So visually, he don't look like somebody that's jumping out the frame dunking. Then on top of that,
he don't like he play basketball at all.
I mean, he a white boy. The white thing is a big part of it, right? We're not going to we can't ignore the elephant in the room. The big reason why it was so impressive because a white boy was dunking out the frame.
I mean, and all his dunks was cold.
Yeah, I mean, so you got a white boy dunking the ball. He's not the tallest guy. That looks very impressive.
And he looks kind of like nerdy / geek. I mean, he just doesn't have the look that you normally would expect for an NBA player. Put it that way.
Yeah.
He looked like he might be a coder.
He's not like the young man that's been doing a lot of the dunk contest things where competition. There's another guy who's done a bunch of these, and he's not the tallest dude, but he be dunking out the frame. He's not like Professor from the AN1 days that had the whole. I don't think I know who that is. That might be a little before your time, but he doesn't have that look, right? He doesn't have I've been influenced by black culture, i.e. Travis Kelce look. So I think that, and it's all of his appearance, the markability of it all. It's a big deal, but that's the reason why we're making a big deal about it. We didn't expect someone to come into a culture and do something that we've generally seen black people do. It works on the flip side. That's why Tiger Woods was such a big deal. We seen a black person go into a white dominated space and kill it.
Yeah. So,
and then the NBA is a black dominated space. So to see a white boy, not a mixed guy, come in and dunk out the frame at 6'2", it's like, man, that's impressive.
And he has a shoe deal.
Yeah, I mean, of course.
Puma.
It's markability. Speaking of markability, because you told me when we bring that up, part of the reason, because there's a clip. Explain to everybody the clip.
No, you can explain it.
No.
I can't do it without laughing. I'm sorry.
So, listen, there's a clip that comes up every year around the All-Star weekend. It's Derrick Rose, right? I forgot, what year was this? Was this 2010 All-Star weekend?
I don't even know what year it is.
It's 10 years old though, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's more than that.
All right.
It's Derrick, LeBron, and Shoulder. What's his name?
Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard, right? So you got Derrick Rose is standing out there, and this has gone viral a few times. Derrick Rose is standing out there, and he's real nonchalant, just chilling. LeBron comes out there hype, yeah. And then it's kind of goofy. Now, Katrina can't keep her composure talking about it because she laughs so hard because Dwight Howard is literally mimicking everything LeBron does.
So LeBron go, then you go.
And then he goes.
He like.
Yeah, I mean, it's goofy as all get out.
And Derrick Rose is looking over at these people like, these clowns.
Yeah, and his composure looking at them is like, is it for real?
He ain't smile, he ain't move. He like, nah.
And like, they're just overly like too geeked. So that's funny in itself. But I will say this, right? I think people forget that in the NBA and the NFL, these are entertainment companies, right? So when you start thinking about selling tennis shoes, what's gonna get a young kid excited to see you and get your T-shirt signed? You can keep it real. This is a message to our people. You can keep it real and be like, yeah, I ain't doing all that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a real one. But you may not sell the same level of jerseys and tennis shoes. And a lot of this is tied to, in anything you do, it's not that in the NBA and the NFL, it represents the best NFL players or basketball players that ever live. I think what it represents is people who are good and talented at the sport, and at the same time understand how to sell themselves. Right? I see the same thing in the music industry. Are the musicians at the Grammys representing the best musicians? I don't think so, but I think they do represent people who are talented and understand the marketability aspect of what it takes to be an artist.
Can I just ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
I would say that Magic Johnson did sell himself. He had that kind of charismatic personality. Mm-hmm. I think the exception to the rule here would be Jordan. That man was not signing autographs.
No, but there was a team around Jordan, and there actually about to be a whole movie about it.
I mean,
there's a team around Jordan that did sell him correctly.
Right.
And the NBA got behind him because he was good for everybody by his talent. Right?
Because he wasn't nice.
And Jordan was clean cut enough to be sold.
Okay.
Bald head. If you watch the documentary you watched about his mindset when he went into it, when everybody else was, before he got into it, gambling and drinking and all that kind of stuff, he was kind of like, I don't want to be a part of that. I'm trying to be focused on the sport. So he still presented himself as a clean-cut professional that could be sold. Okay. You get what I'm saying? Kawhi Leonard has zero personality. And I think that's why you don't see people talking about him more. Clearly talented basketball player. But he doesn't come in with the spectacle of a LeBron and all that stuff that he does.
Who behind, if you had to name 5 NBA players, obviously LeBron number 1, give me 4 more. Who do you think are marketable currently?
Steph Curry.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Even, he's not as talkative, but he's marketable because he's, once again, a clean-cut, quiet guy, never really gets into no trouble. KD. Right? But you get what I'm saying? People who aren't, because he's too opinionated, says too much, and I'm not saying shut up and dribble, but we've seen how this works against someone like a Kyrie
or a Draymond.
You know what I'm saying? So there's a sweet spot of you can have an opinion, but can you still be marketable at the same time, right? And and that happens in any form. I don't care if it's at work. Some people ain't getting promoted because you have to be willing to do the work and at the same time play the office politics. That's why there's a certain levels that some people won't make it to the job because you don't play the office politics. Now, sometimes it's racism. You black, you do the work, you show up, you do what you're supposed to do, and obviously they're holding your skin tone against you. That's a different conversation with HR. But we do see situations where people that tend to make it normally figured out how to get along and work along somewhere along the line to make that next echelon of success. That's all. So I just think that's something worth bringing up. Let me see. So NBA, NFL, taxes. Get your money in order. It's tax season. Tax season's been quiet this year. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that, one, people are starting to feel the hurts of a lot of the tax codes that got changed during the Trump administration. Those child credits are not hitting like they used to. Same things, other things that we used to claim for back in the day are not hitting like they used to. So now the key to taxes is ownership. Taxes are skewed and have always been skewed towards those who have money, those who have, and when I say those who have money, it's not so much that you earn a lot of money a year. It's what happens is when you earn a certain amount of money a year, like, people that are out there making 6 figures and $250,000 a year household incomes, whatever, right? Those people get exposed to things typically where someone is telling them, oh, you should put your money in this kind of account, like an I-9 account. That's something. And a lot of it, you just go to the IRS. But unless you have a good CPA, right, who's going to tell you? And most people don't go get a good CPA. You know why? Because you can go to TurboTax and just file your W-2. You don't really start thinking about a CPA until you get an LLC or an S Corp, or you start doing some 1099 work. And then you have a reason to say, okay, well, I need to make sure I don't screw up my taxes. I need to take myself to a real professional outside of H&R Block. And then you get to these folks who have private practices where they manage wealth, and then they start breaking you off information. Thank God for Earn Your Leisure. Shout out to Tall Guy Tycoon. These guys actually express how you should manage your money, so regular folks like myself can start figuring out, like, oh, okay, if I ever come into some money, this is how I should manage it. This is how I should structure it. I should go get an S Corp. I should get an LLC. I should get business credit and start running things through there. So the people who are actually having the best tax season right now seem like the folks with all the money.
Or if you really, really rely on the government.
I don't think they're getting hit the same way this year. From what I'm understanding, they say like those folks, like folks who are low income and things of that nature, they're not getting them same. Herman said, he said, it ain't quiet around here. One laugh out loud. Oh, okay, so they loud getting their money. Okay, well I guess you're right. Those low incomes, some of them are getting that paper still. But the tax code has changed a little bit. One last thing. Do we have time?
We have what you mean? It's 10 minutes.
Well, I mean, we still got to do like little shout outs and stuff at the end. All right. So, anyways, Black history amongst the generations. I do want to bring this point up, right? Actually, me and Katrina was going for a walk and we talking about this. It was like, we should bring that up on the show today. So, I think oftentimes as people, we need to relate amongst the generations. We need to consider. It's so easy to say, oh, I want to complain about the millennials. I want to complain about the zennials. Some of the young folks, I want to complain about the old generation. And why is it that they don't understand this? Or how is it that they allowed X, Y, Z to happen? And I think sometimes we don't ever put ourselves in other people's shoes. For instance, when we look at the baby boomers, right? Those that were born in the later 50s and stuff like that. They grew up at a time where they could remember somewhat different water fountains and stuff like that, but they didn't really experience the same way. They were still kids. They were like under the age of 10 in the 60s. It was the group before them, born in the 40s, that ended up leading the way, or actually the 30s and 40s. It was that generation, silent generation, that actually led the way to civil rights movement in the 60s, right? They were the ones who were voting age and adults that really pushed the civil rights agenda. Those born in the late 50s, early 60s, they kind of ride off the backs of their parents, but it's like they didn't really go through the civil rights movement. They was just kind of around as kids, and they remember that, oh, so-and-so died, that was tragic, but really understanding a dog was being sick, they were sicking dogs when people were spraying folks with water hoses. They may not really experience that. Some people have, but large majority was just kids. And so by the time they came into recollection, so we're talking the 70s, they had symbolic activism. By that time, 1968 already happened. When you start thinking about what significant laws came into place in the 70s, the most relevant would probably be late 70s, and that's Carter signing Black History Month as an official thing in the United States. But when you start thinking about any other legislation that was passed, you really can't point to what specifically Black legislation happened wise for Black people in the 70s. There was really none, right? And those folks are just having a good time, having the symbolism of Blackness. They was listening to their music. They was smoking their weed. They was, doing their bungalow fever, little cocaine and all that, super fly. I'm just saying, that's what was going on in the 70s. For those that lived it, y'all can tell me if I'm wrong or not, but, the activism more so was the Black Panthers in the 60s and the 70s, but in the 70s it became more symbolic. This is not to trash those that were teenagers and young adults in the 70s. It's just, it is what it is. So when you think about the symbolic mindset and what that means towards maybe the lack of activism when we're talking about policy changes in the 80s and the 90s, was maybe it's because that group didn't really feel that boot on them to really want to make the change. Then, even when we look at stories and movies, now getting on the young folks, you have people like Donald Glover, Issa Rae, All these young producers, Ryan Coogler, they think they're doing something new in Hollywood. Yeah, we're creating black content for black people. We're telling our stories for the first time, making it real. And then I'm kind of like, well, did y'all forget about Robert Townsend creating 5 Heartbeats? Did we forget about movies like South Central that Katrina saw for the first time today or whatever? Did we forget about Boys in the Hood, where we have John Singleton creating stories about us? We've had a black renaissance multiple times in media throughout the last century. And I think sometimes the new generation, they don't get it sometimes, and they start feeling themselves. It's like, you're not doing anything new. We've been had Martin and the Cosby Show and all that on television. We've been owners in the space. You get what I'm saying? You're not doing anything new that folks before you didn't do before, right? But they get to feeling themselves like, oh yeah, you know, we doing something new. We're finally bringing black comedy to the light. Like, no, they're not the first. Key and Peele ain't the first people to do that. Before them, we had Living Color in the early 90s. You see what I'm saying? We had things like, we had a whole network at BET, Bob Johnson, you know, so this is Revolt, Jay-Z. These folks aren't necessarily new in this business space, but I think sometimes we get to feeling ourselves. And I think as black people, we need to have better communication amongst the generations, and we need to understand that some of us live in the old days, and we have to be honest, like, well, were we really pushing the envelope like that, like we claim we were? And then some folks need to understand, like, while we're doing some new things, let's not take away from the fact that someone before us may have already set a blueprint. Just because you don't know those movies or you don't know those songs, don't mean that somebody didn't make a way. So together, working, I think we could push ourselves forward. And I think that's really important in Black History Month. I hear some young folks say, why we got the smallest month? Had nothing to do with the month. We picked the month. Shout out to Carter G. Woodson. That actually, it was only a week up until the 70s. It was 1 week. It was Negro Week. And in places like D.C., North Carolina, shout out to Ohio, Kent University, they were celebrating this and saying, hey, look, you know, during this week, let's try to focus on the contributions of blacks in America, right? And then, as a result of all of that, we were able to, shout out to Kent, they celebrated for a whole month, actually 2 months, January to February, and then it became a month-long thing signed by President Carter. And then we put it in the school system so we can highlight the contributions of blacks. I wish it was better because, like, we did the filament for the light bulb. We'll talk a little bit about the peanut. We'll talk about Martin Luther King. But, you know, we don't tell the whole story. We don't talk about how we hated Martin Luther King and that the FBI assigned agents to him, and how in 1999, the King family actually won a case because the government admitted that they had a major part in the killing of Martin Luther King. They don't talk about the fact that Martin Luther King felt like we should have our own, and it wasn't always just about us sharing water fountains and one day my kids and your kids could hold hands being black and white. Nah, he still wanted black people to have our own place and have a part in society where, from the standpoint of commerce, we were equal, right? But, you know, we haven't seen that because people take pieces of it and put what makes them feel comfortable. And Black History Month is on attack because of people like Ron DeSantis in Florida. It is on attack because people don't understand the difference between critical race theory and Black History Month, or just the facts of American history. And when we start working together, because young people do have been armed with information that our predecessors haven't had, and our predecessors still have wisdom that young people need today, it's going to take all of us working together. If we're ever going to see things like reparations come to be, if we're ever going to be in a place where we get properly reinstated from what was taken from us, not just slavery, but Jim Crow South. When you think about redlining, not having access to homes, and one thing about reparations, people forget that in reparations, you're not just talking about the government doing their part or the local governments doing their part. This also extends to individuals. Shout out, I see you, Frat. Drop a bomb for you.
And someone named JT.
Oh, and shout out to JT with the bullseyes, right? This is a combination of information when we start looking at the fact that in reparations, you can sue a direct family. So prime example, I was talking to somebody out there in Boston. He was talking about how they have a reparations council. And one of the things that I brought up is, well, because the thought process, and I hear a lot of black folks say this, oh, the government can't afford to give us reparations. Yes, they can. Because it's not just the government's responsibility. New York Life Insurance, back when they were Volatus, they made their money putting insurance on slaves. We can sue them directly and take money from them. When you look at the endowment of the 10 richest schools in America, you're talking about the Harvards, the Browns, the Dartmouths, the MITs, the Stanfords. They have an annual endowment. That means yearly. They receive over $51 billion in donation money. We're not talking about what you're paying to go there. These are people who have gone to the school and they say, hey, I loved Harvard so much, i.e. Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, and so many others. I'm going to give the school back some money. And they have, and schools like this together, they have over $51 billion in endowments through reparations because so many people have been denied the right to go to those schools. So many of the people who have gone to the schools have stolen patents from black people that we should have rights to. Suing them schools alone. If we took their whole $51 billion, that'll be enough money to say we're going to redirect this money back to HBCUs and get us all caught up. Mm-hmm. There are so many different tactics and ways we could go about getting us what we deserve and what we've already earned. So anybody watching this saying, you looking for a handout, it ain't no handout, boo-boo. When I built your White House, when we built these roads, when we created toilets, and heart transplants and all these different things that people benefit from now, and we don't get credit for it. And our families who should be the recipients of millions and billions of dollars haven't got that. We have a case to get what we're owed. We're not looking for a handout. We want what we've already worked for.
All the various industries, even Great Britain owes us money.
Yeah.
The Dutch, the Portuguese.
Yeah, because it doesn't just stop at America. If you've ever been to the African American Museum, I love it because it's the African American Museum,
the French,
guys. So
Spain.
It starts with slavery because it's the African American Museum. Obviously, our history doesn't begin there, but if it's the African American Museum, you have to talk about how do black and African people in part get to America. The slave trade is a big part of it. And when you think about all these folks that Katrina just mentioned, yeah, they owe their part.
Because we was doing tobacco and cotton, they was sending it back to England.
And so, and then once again, not just the country, but then the industry owes us money.
Yeah.
Insurance industries, cotton industry, tobacco industry, rice, rye, all these, there's so much money owed back to us.
You want to even be funny? The U.S. military.
Yeah.
Because the red-tailed Tuskegee Airmen, they saved them at one point in time, and they was putting black people up on the front lines, getting them killed first because they was like, well, we'll send the niggas out there first.
Prime example on LinkedIn, U.S. Army celebrated, what's his name? It was back in 2005. This is the last time we had a Medal of Honor recipient, right? And if you go to the African American Museum here in D.C., you'll see they have a list of every black soldier who's been a Medal of Honor recipient. You see a bunch of them through early wars like 1812, Civil War. You see a bunch of them in Vietnam. Actually, most of our winners or recipients were in the Vietnam era because at the time, the educated white boys were trying to dodge being drafted, i.e. Bush. That's why he went to the National Guard and joined the Air Force, so he don't get deployed on the front lines. Bill Clinton using school as an excuse. All these people who dodged, these draft dodgers. Meanwhile, y'all mad at Muhammad Ali and try to call him by Cassius Clay to say, oh yeah, you got to go. But half these folks who are now running for president that I named, they was trying to dodge the draft. So guess who was going? Black boys in the inner city and throughout the United States were joined. Trump also does. Thank you, Gary, for that. So all these young black men are going into the military. And during that period, the 60s and the 70s, they're like, yeah, we're going to put y'all on the front line, like you said. Mm-hmm. So we're becoming SEALs. We were becoming paratroopers. And we were becoming special force operatives and Rangers. Then something interesting happens in the late 60s and the 70s. The Black Panther movement. You have people like Malcolm X holding his rifle by any means necessary. And what happens is a lot of our displaced soldiers, because we didn't get all of these affirmative action laws you see out there, they weren't designed for black people. They were really designed for white soldiers and white women. We only became recipients of it in recent time, right? There's a book out there called when affirmative action was white. You guys should go read it. When affirmative action was white. I read it at the end of last year. Great book. I think you guys should check it out. So we're at a period where they were putting black guys on the front line, and then these displaced soldiers started coming home and joining the Black Panthers. They started joining the gangs like Folk and Vice Lord, because before they were what they are now and the rappers are talking about, these were community programs that created WIC. The Vice Lords, or I think it was Folk or Vice Lord, one of the Chicago gangs, they created the WIC program. And the government stole the idea, right? So at that point, they started saying, you know what? We don't want no more black guys in our special forces. And then conveniently, we're at a time of peace in the 80s, right? In the late 70s. So now when it ain't so dangerous, yeah, we ain't letting black guys come in here and learn this stuff.
They were at a time of peace. For us, our community was in turmoil.
Well, I mean, yeah, but America's at a time of peace. So it's like, you know what? We're going to start putting white guys in there. And I could tell you, as a former service member myself, it is darn near impossible for a black man to get into any form of special service. Mm-hmm. That's why people like David Goggins should be celebrated. The fact that he's actually been trained in all disciplines of Ranger, Special Forces, Navy SEAL. The guy is amazing, right? I mean, he's like the real life Wesley Snipes of all the action movies of old. It is so hard for black people to get into special forces. I mean, we go through so much and they make every excuse as to why you don't get a chance to pass or even be selected in the first place. So that was just a little black history rant, if you will. I went over time with that one. She right, I do get passionate about those subjects. I'm trash like that.
Who said this?
No, I was talking about earlier how you said I rushed past that Chris Brown thing, but I just ran on like a 5-minute rant on Black History Month.
It was good.
But,
reparations is due.
Reparations are due. So just something to think about as we go forward. I know we didn't have a lot of content through Black History Month, but I wanted us to think about that as we move forward, because these are the conversations we need to have and keep it real and not be, played when they start putting out these little petty laws that think that they're doing something for us, but really they're just placating us while not actually changing anything legislatively. Think about that as we go forward. All right. And then keep yourself educated, because the stuff that I said, every black person should be able to rattle off the top of their head. Everyone. And if you can't, you need to get in the book and read it. Simple as that. All right. Let's talk happy stuff. All right. We always end this show on a happy note. We went over today, but, I guess we owed y'all some extra time. So let's talk birthdays. It is February, y'all. I get excited about February birthdays. I'm going to work my way up. You know what I'm saying? And by biased opinion of which ones are most important. But anyways, but shout out to some really cool people. Shout out to somebody who served with me in the military, my homie Harrison Crump. I think he's 52 years of age today. Shout out to you, sir. Shout out to my cousin Tamika Cox. I won't say your age, but you look good, girl. You look good. Shout out to the homie Devin Antoine, or Mr. Waffleman, if you follow him on IG. Mm-hmm. Hilarious. Mm-hmm. Hilarious. For real. If you into IG, check him out, man. He's funny. Shout out to the homie Shantae Dixon. Shout out to Sharonda Murden. We are birthday twins. All right, so shout out to you. Shout out to Sonia Robertson. She's a birthday twin of my daughter Nyla, the 24th. And also, Sonia's before. I think she's the 20th. My bad, Sonia. Rashida Hairston, though, shout out to the homie. Her baby's so cute, by the way. So cute. Her and her husband's baby is just a beautiful little thing. She's a birthday twin with my daughter. Now, obviously, I already kind of gave it away. So shout out to my daughter, Nyla DaCosta. All right. Turning 9 years old on February 24th. Right? Like I said, birthday twin with Rashida Hairston. And then last but not least, but since it's my show, I get to be the most... Hold on, let me do the air horn, DJ air horn real quick. Right? Happy birthday to me. 39 years.
Your last year of your 30s.
Last year of my 30s, but I ain't mad at it. I got something special I'm working on too. I'm going to start doing my little pictures, and I'm going to do this whole little growth process this year. Me and Katrina going to be doing it together, but for me, it's getting ready for 40. For Katrina, she just, she's trying to bring her sexy back. I think she's sexy right now, but she wants to bring a different level of sexy back. So I'm like, all right, we on this journey together.
And tell the people how I treat you for your birthday. Because, people be trying to complain like women don't be doing that right. I'm doing you real good.
Oh, no, she doing me real good for my birthday.
I always do.
So, always.
I show up.
Always. I put a ring on your finger for a reason. Don't show him the ring, y'all. Show him the ring. She got a ring on her finger, though. That's all I got to say. All right, my baby do right. Y'all could call her a pick-me. No, she's not a pick-me. She's a chosen. Hello. Anyways, I'm gonna throw that out there. Throw some shade at the folks that be hating on you. I ride for mine.
Oh my god.
You know what I'm saying? She might be like, you see how he be acting, y'all? Like, yeah, you know, whatever. We got opinions, but it's nothing but love over here, baby. It's nothing but love.
You went on trips.
I'm going on trips. Yeah. So, anyways, with that in mind, we won't be here next Sunday. Don't look for us. Don't ask for us. Please don't call us.
Don't wonder
Y'all know who I'm talking to when I said that. Please don't call us. We're going to be real busy with each other, okay? We're going to enjoy one another, all right? So leave us alone. Starting Wednesday on my birthday, you better hit me up Wednesday, because after Wednesday, the only person I'm calling after that, subsequent to that, is Nyla on Friday. But nobody else better bother me, all right? Don't bother me. I'm going to be with wifey. We're going to be in a location. If you follow us personally on social media, you might just get a chance to see. You might just get a chance to see where we at. But don't bother us, because we about to be having a good time for my birthday. Shout out to
very sexy location, too.
Very sexy location. I give you a hint. It's going to be warmer than D.C. It's going to be warmer than D.C. So anyways, having a good time with that. Thank you guys for watching and rocking with us all this time. We really do appreciate ya. We appreciate ya. And we'll be back, I guess that's in March. We'll be back in March. We'll see y'all in March. And hopefully we'll get some of these schedules worked out, and some of these guests that have been wanting to come on, we'll figure this thing out. So with that said, peace in the bottle of hair grease. It's your boy, Jay DaCosta.
It's your girl, Katniss.
And together we are the Nitty Gritty. Thank you guys for watching, and we going to be out of here. Like, well, the goal was to be like out of here. There we go.